I have to complete the last story in sprint one, Abhishek. So I think I can complete it today, the entire sprint one.
Oh, okay. Just complete that, and if you will have issues, you can let me know, and attempt that examination as well. Okay, there will be one exam which you need to give for moving.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
After every sprint, there will be exam.
Yeah, but that's gonna be easy one. I mean, that's not gonna be too difficult.
No problem.
It's gonna be very, very basic things which they will ask there. So I don't think that will be, what I like or challenge over there.
We'll give it a try.
All right. So as per the today's topic, let's get started with our session. And today we're going to be discussing about something called time ranges. Okay, so have you guys already gone through this in the past, or did you guys came across through this terminology ever?
I think we discussed briefly in L1, right? In L2 now, that's the chapter that I have to start in sprint 3. That's
okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if time ranges we wouldn't have discussed. We would have discussed the time dimension, model calendar, time ranges. I mean, just maybe for a minute or two, I would have told something at a very, very high level. All right. All right, that's fine. So if I, before coming to time ranges, let me just give you a very small example. What exactly the possible scenarios and why the need of time ranges comes in. Okay. So currently, I mean, the way we have been understanding the points, it is more like we are using a time dimension whenever we have something like where we need to put in the data, or where we need to create in the face values or the placeholders for a specific time period. So for an example, I use a time dimension. Why? Because I may need to store in the data for that specific time scale. That is, maybe I need to store in the data for January 21, February 21, March 21, right? So what I do, I use a time dimension in my module, and this particular module in turn allows me to do what? It allows me to store in the cells or store in the values for that upcoming value. Okay. Now, suppose the example which we were taking, I mean, in our L1, okay, and which we have taken from quite some time for our understanding, and that is, if you guys remember, I want to know the forecasted sales on the basis of products by geography, and this forecasting needs to be done on the basis of past 3 years data, right? So if you guys remember the what do you say, the time calendar which we were setting, which we were setting in for this example, was more like our time calendar had number of future year 1, number of current year was 2021, and then number of past years we used to set up as 3. You guys remember this? Yes, no? I mean, are you getting what I mean, or is it confusing?
Yes, Abhishek. We did this in L1.
Akhil, all good, right?
Yes. Sorry, just got call from Ram. So.
Is he joining?
No, he's not joining. We can get.
Okay. So that is one thing which which we did in our L1. Now, one thing, if you understand or if you check in, let me quickly share my screen. me log into Anaplan workspace. So what I mean, let's show you the tool as well. So all right, so number of past year was 1, number of past years as 3. That's what I have been setting it up for my requirement. And then what ultimately we were trying to do, we saw that there were placeholders created for these 5 specific years, that is 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So just to show you, I have a time dimension here, and pretty much I can name it something. I'm just creating 3 line items, dummy ones. Not much use though. Seems a little slow. Me on that. Sometimes it happens, like, there's no reason as such. It will take some time, maybe the issues are at their server and it takes some time to load or to fetched. Okay, we can maybe just create another. Okay, it got created anyways, that's fine. So what we were telling ultimately that we were able to create in the values or create in the placeholders for these specific 5 years, right? So you see it like till 24. Oh, sorry, till 20. Oh, just there. It's like a little too much. I think the current year we haven't changed. So the current year is 20. Oh, okay. I did the other way. Number of past years should be 3. Number of future years should be 1. Now you see the values are from Jan 18 till maybe December 2022. But the matter of fact is, currently it's storing this much. The point is, wherever through this entire model, wherever this time dimension would be used. Okay, so suppose you have used it for maybe sales history module, one example. Now, similarly, if in other module as well, this time dimension is being used, suppose try one. This will also have the time ranges of those specific years contained. Okay, so it's taking some time. So for an example, another module, my first module. Can't help it, guys. It's taking some time. Let me just refresh everything. So we just created this module. Suppose we had the other module, let us try one. Even this will have the cell values from 18 till December 2022. So wherever, I mean, suppose this one as well, my first module. So wherever the time dimension has been used, all the, in all the places, the cell values will be from 18 till 2022. That is these 5 years. Okay. Now, a thing to understand over here is there could be scenarios where you may not need these 5 years data, or even if these 5 years data are coming, those could be very, very, like not useful. And at the same time, when they're not useful, the values will have, the cells will have values as 0. Now, what does that mean is, suppose for my requirement as such specifically, one thing we can pretty much understand, like for each and every, okay, so for each and every cell, we know that, there is some space which gets contributed or which gets consumed in Anaplan workspace. Now, suppose for my try one module, I didn't needed 5 years data. Okay, I was pretty happy with the current year data. That is only 2021 data. The point is, then these values will be 0 for the rest other years. And since it's going to be 0, ultimately, these are the sparse cells, and you are just, wasting the Anaplan memory entirely without of any need as such, right? So what you're doing ultimately in turn, if you think of, because of one single reason, that is that you had to import maybe a sales history data of past 3 years, even in the modules where you don't need that 5-year placeholders, everywhere when you're using a time dimension, that is getting fetched in, and in turn, you have mammoth amount of cells which are having some wastage, right? Which are having or which are consuming memory into Anaplan, which is of no need at all, right? So, I mean, you guys are getting the pain point?
Yes.
Okay. Now the point is, if think of a scenario, I mean, this is one scenario. There could be another scenario where, a user tells in, or a business comes up and says you, hey, I want to do this analysis on basis of 5 years data. Can you just put into the system next 5 years data? Sorry, past 5 years data. So again, first requirement was past. Okay, so I just made model kind of -3. Next requirement was basis of 7 years past data. Okay, what you should be doing now. And another requirement could be forecasted values for, or maybe analysis of forecasting of next 3 years. That is, you want to do some sort of forecasting or analysis for year 2022, 23, and 24. Now what you can do? Suppose when you say the basis of past 7 years data, to accommodate this, I need to do, or I need to make number of past years to 7. Here I need to create +3, right? Now just imagine a scenario This one is a very rare one, only for one scenario. You will have this basis of past 7 years data. This is also only a one scenario. That is analysis for forecasting of next 3 years. That is +3 for only one specific value you need to enter like this. Okay. And then you had that normal one, where we started basis of past 3 years data. The point is pain point over here is I don't know how in the world I'll accommodate all these different types of data with me, right? Because I mean, maybe what I can do is like I can change number of future years to +3, number of past years to -7. I mean, can you imagine 7 plus 3 plus 1?
That'll impact all the
11 years.
modules.
I mean, that's like like you can understand, like you're increasing the space 11x times. That's not the best solution for this type of stuff. Okay. So what we understand, like, or what we can conclude very well, like in your day-to-day activities, there will be lots and lots of scenarios, or there will be lots and lots of places where you will be encountering issues, maybe for one single or one business requirement, which you need to accommodate. And in turn, you need to make sure that value or those cells or placeholders are created as well. The problem is you can't, enter everything directly. I mean, if you just start creating for each and specific requirement like this, the placeholders, your or start increasing or decreasing the past years, future years, your sales values will increase mammothly, and probably it will result in lots and lots of different issues. Okay, and obviously you don't want that to happen. So what Anaplan does is they provide you a feature of time ranges. Now, if I just tell you in a nutshell what time range is, it will allow you to set up modules or line items that include longer or shorter time period of time than mean time scale. Just reiterating myself once again. Time ranges allow you to set up modules or line items that include longer or shorter time period of time than mean time scale. Just reiterating. It will allow me to set up modules or line items that include longer. Okay, so it will allow me to store this or shorter time period of time than main time scale. So what is my main time scale? So my main time scale is for maybe 5 years. Correct? That's my main time scale. Requirement is to store +7. I can do that. Sorry, -7, I can do that with the help of time scale. +3, I can do that with the help of time scale. Now, how to create a time range? Let's see. You need to click on new here, and you can name this time range anything as such, whatever you want. Maybe I can name it basis of past 7 years data. So past 7 years data. Let me just name it like past 7 years. So it's going to be a start period 1 Jan 2021, and number of periods maybe like 7. And you need to define in the past 7 years. So you need to define the start range. So 2021, 15. Let me name it here, 15. And just save the time range. Let's go to our module. Insert module. I click on this insert module here. Instead of using time as a dimension, over here, if I just remove this, I get a subset like thing. Like, in list, I used to see this subset. So similarly, in my time, I see another. I mean, that's not really fair to call this as a subset, but you see something, which is underlying over here. That is past 7 years data. Okay. All right. So what you can do is you can very well make sure that you are including this past 7 years data here, the time range which you created. And now if I just click on OK, now you see the data is the placeholders gets created from Jan 15 till December 21. These are like 7 years data which you have included. And this you can use further for your another calculations or your analysis as such if required. All right. So if you just think it of creating another time range, maybe for next 4 years, again, we will click on new, next 3 years. Again, we will name it starting from Jan 2021.
Is this start period always in years? Only years, right?
Yes, it's always in years. So suppose you use another one, next 3 years data. Now you will have the capacity. Oops. Time in next 3 years. Okay, number of period was only 1 here, right? So let me just change it to 3. And now I'll be able to see the data for the next 3 years here. Okay, so that is one thing which you can very well do and set up over here. So just to conclude, like what we just observed, like, it allowed us to set up modules or line items that can include maybe longer or shorter time period of time than the main time scale. So depending upon different requirements that you can encounter or which you may encounter, you can very well go on and change this. So that is one thing which you can take care or consider while you're working on the time ranges. So apart from that, another thing which we can probably conclude, like if you just want to understand, like the possible benefits of having these time ranges, one thing we can, or we just very well saw, like it was allowing me, okay, so it was allowing me to probably reduce sparsity, correct? So we just saw, like we were able to reduce the sparsity by using this time ranges. Yes, we did, right? No, yes.
Yes, Abhishek. Yes, Abhishek.
Okay. So we reduce the sparsity, then probably we eliminated to set up alternate substitute data set. Okay, we will or date list. Ultimately, in turn, you are increasing the flexibility of the model, and in turn, as soon as you are reducing the sparsity, you are ultimately also improving the efficiency, or calculations are only needed for the relevant time period. So you are increasing the efficiency, and you are doing or performing the calculations only on the relevant time period itself. One just a general note, if you are using a time range as week general, this one, okay. So over here, if you're using a time range calendar type as this, then in those calendar types, you can't have time ranges, okay. You can't create a time range when you are using a calendar type as week general, that you can just, maybe that's a very, sometimes a bookish interview can go like that, where they will ask you where you can do what. Maybe you can just remember that, just a small info. And one thing to understand over here is, if you keep on changing the time ranges, like, the number of period is 3 currently for your time range for next years, and number of past years is 7 for the past 7 years data. So you can understand one point, and that is, number of periods, if we change in the time period, that could result in loss of data. So for an instance, today we have just marked that as next 6 years or next 7 years or past 3 years. And just tomorrow, if I come and change the time period, okay. So obviously, one thing you can very well presume, like the changes that you are making will obviously result in loss. So suppose number of periods is 7, and if you just change it to 6, so in the module which was using this time range, that data will be lost for that data. I mean, that's pretty much we saw, like in our model calendar activity as well, when we do similar things like this. And if I just elaborate this example a little more, if a module includes a line item with data that has like 3 years time range, and you edit time range so that it is 2 years, the year of data that is no longer aligns with time ranges removed. Okay, I mean, just to summarize it. So that's where you're going to be using the time ranges, and that's the activity which you need to be taken care when you are working with time ranges. Additionally, apart from that, one thing you can very well again presume and understand, like what I told, like changing the fiscal year. Maybe you do this activity at start of every year. Okay, so fiscal year 21, then again in 2022, I'll be changing this 1st Jan 2022. So when you do this, you need to change the start period here as well, because ultimately the past 7 years data is currently for 2021. When it's 2022, the past 7 years data will begin starting from Jan 16, not 15. So that also you need to be considering when you are working with time ranges. Okay, so you can create as many time ranges as you want. That's not a concern, but ultimately that has to solve your purpose. And it's a very handy feature and a nifty one, probably, that allows you to save lots and lots of space in an app plan. So that's what I wanted to cover in the time range. If you guys have any questions, do let me know.
Yeah, sure. So you just said that, let's say it has passed 7 years and I later changed, let's say next 3 years. So 21, 22 and 23, let's say it has the data till 23. And I make it as, I uploaded the data, I'm sorry, I imported the data, but then I next day change it to 2 years. So the data will be obviously lost, but will it exactly the 3rd year with 23 data will be lost, or it could be a random?
No, the data or the changes which you made, only that specific year data will be lost.
Okay. But anyways, I didn't want it. That's why I made it 2 years, 2 periods. Okay, fine. Yeah. Another question that I had. Now we saw that it is only for years. So let's say maybe there's other way to do it. I wanted to understand it. Let's say my requirement is that I if the client wants to see only the data for this current financial year, when I say financial year, it's like maybe from March to right this April to next March.
Mhm.
And in that scenario, I don't need the entire 5 years to be uploaded. So I just wanted only that particular financial March, April 21 to March of 2022.
Mhm.
So that I thought we could do in time days, but now since it is only for a year, uh, how do we do that? Okay, you're showing end of month. Okay. So it's the same will be applicable in time ranges also.
Yes, what you do here, that will be applicable here.
Okay, got it. I think.
Mhm.
Got it. Fine.
All right, so you guys can continue with completion of your sprint one. Let's park the session for today. Like I don't want to start with any other topics apart from this. Maybe we can continue with the new topics tomorrow. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay.